What struck me, and kept me pressing him to replay it again and again, was something unsettling. There was no blood, not a trace at the back. It was as if the bullet had never exited. And that, of course, raises a host of questions. I seem to recall, and maybe Skylar can confirm this, that the authorities had at one point mentioned searching for a bullet. Now that detail feels deeply troubling. How could they be looking for something that doesn't appear to exist? What I see at the front simply doesn't match what one would expect at the back. If no blood is visible, then what are we meant to conclude? Meanwhile, the funeral for Charlie Kirk was meant to be more than a ceremony. It was a historic stage set for allies, skeptics, and fans to converge, a chance to honor a man who had mastered the art of controversy and spectacle. Yet what unfolded there defied expectations, leaving the atmosphere charged with questions as much as grief. Behind those church doors, the atmosphere didn't just hum with quiet reverence, it detonated. Amid the soft prayers and carefully staged tributes, an astonishing scene unfolded. Candace Owens, long seen as one of Charlie Kirk's closest confidants, was abruptly ejected from his funeral. Shock rippled through everyone present. Though cameras were meant to be barred, grainy footage surfaced, capturing her fury as she hissed sharp words at a staffer before storming off, her heels striking the marble floor like a rapid drumbeat of defiance. Guests froze, mouths agape, and even the pallbearers faltered for a heartbeat as whispers cascaded through the sanctuary, transforming solemnity into spectacle. What had actually happened? Why? In the midst of a solemn ceremony, had one of the most recognizable figures in conservative politics been forcibly removed from Charlie Kirk's funeral? Initially, confusion reigned. Whispers and rumors erupted. Some claimed Candace Owens had appeared uninvited. Others suggested she attempted to commandeer the eulogy. A few insisted she had leveled a remark at the widow so sharp it couldn't be ignored. Then, just as speculation reached a fever pitch, Dave Chappelle, of all people, stepped into the spotlight. Known for blurring comedy with candid observation, he addressed the crowd mid-set, pausing, shaking his head, and muttering, "You want to know why Candace Owens got thrown out? Y'all ain't ready for that truth." Laughter rippled through the audience, thinking it was set up for a punchline, but the humor died in his eyes. His grin faded, voice dropping to a hush, signaling the gravity of what he was about to reveal. "She wasn't kicked out for being loud," he said. "She wasn't kicked out for disrespect. They threw her out because she knew something she wasn't supposed to say, and she said it, right there in the middle of the funeral." The room went still. Social media erupted. Clips spread instantly. The hashtag Candace funeral fight surged as viewers around the world realized the stakes were far higher than comedy or grief. People were no longer laughing, they were panicking. What could she have whispered that warranted such a dramatic expulsion in front of God, family, and cameras? Dave didn't name names outright, but he hinted that he had witnessed it firsthand, that what Candace revealed could upend everything the public thought they knew about Charlie Kirk's death, his legacy, and his widow. By nightfall, a shaky, hidden phone recording circulated online, capturing Candace mid-service, whispering to nearby guests, face contorted with fury. Though the audio was mostly muffled, one phrase pierced the noise. "You all know what really happened to Charlie." The world froze. Had Candace tried to expose a secret so explosive it required immediate removal? And why was Dave Chappelle, the last person anyone would expect, confirming it? As he ominously concluded, "You don't throw Candace Owens out of a funeral unless she hit a nerve so deep they're terrified it'll bleed out in public." The question on everyone's lips was no longer just why she was kicked out. It was what she knew about Charlie Kirk that changed everything. Why were so many powerful figures seemingly desperate to silence her? If Dave Chappelle is telling the truth, this isn't just a sensational funeral incident. It's the opening act of something far more sinister. To grasp why Candace Owens' abrupt removal from Charlie Kirk's funeral sent shockwaves across the internet, and why Chappelle's revelation struck like dynamite, we need to rewind to the complex, simmering history between Kirk, Owens, the conservative movement, and the hidden tensions that had been brewing for years. Candace's ejection wasn't a spur-of-the-moment flare-up or a mere misunderstanding. It was the dramatic climax of years of rivalry, betrayal, and buried secrets waiting for a stage as high-profile as a funeral. At one point, Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens were hailed as the unstoppable duo of a rising conservative generation. Together, their incendiary speeches, viral soundbites, and unapologetic bravado dominated headlines, polarized audiences, and positioned them as rising stars in the political ecosystem. To the outside world, they seemed invincible, two forces tearing through the mainstream in perfect sync, adored by followers, feared by opponents. But behind the curtain, all was not as it seemed. According to alleged former insiders, Candace always felt eclipsed, treated as a sidekick rather than a partner. She craved leadership. He expected her to play second fiddle. Frustration festered, escalating during public appearances. In one notorious resurfaced clip, Charlie interrupted Candace mid-sentence on a panel, cutting her off with a sarcastic laugh. Though she maintained a poised smile, a fleeting flash of fury in her eyes told the real story. That moment marked her decision to stop being restrained by him. A political blogger later observed that as Charlie's influence grew, so did the fractures in his alliances. Rumors circulated that Candace was quietly negotiating her own deals, brand partnerships, media appearances, donor meetings, territory Charlie considered exclusively his. A leaked email from a frustrated staffer described her as relentless, opportunistic, always testing boundaries. The feud could no longer stay behind closed doors. Followers noticed the duo appearing together less often. Social media sleuths dissected passive-aggressive posts, and the tension became impossible to ignore. At one point, Candace Owens had tweeted, "Some people mistake leadership for control. That's why their empires fall faster than they're built." At the time, fans debated whether it was a subtle jab at Charlie Kirk, but looking back, the message feels pointedly clear. Then there was the widow, Charlie's wife, long the quiet architect behind his ascent, yet notoriously frosty toward Candace. Insiders whispered of tense dinners, barbed remarks, and an unrelenting struggle for influence between the two women. One leaked staff text described it succinctly: "It's like watching two queens fight for one throne." So when Charlie died, the stage was primed for an eruption. Many assumed Candace would take a central role, a nod to their shared history. Instead, she was met with cold indifference, her name absent from the official program, a warning sign for anyone paying attention. Yet she arrived regardless, head high, dressed in black, eyes stormy. Her mere presence set the pews abuzz, tension crackling like static. Guests exchanged wary glances. Some gripped their programs as if for protection. Then came the moment that would later be immortalized by Dave Chappelle. Candace leaned toward a row of high-profile attendees and whispered words that instantly shifted the atmosphere. At first, no one caught them all, but one phrase cut through with deadly clarity. "You all know what really happened to Charlie." In an instant, the solemn service became a powder keg. Heads snapped toward her. The widow reportedly went pale with fury. Staffers moved quickly, urging her to leave, but Candace resisted. She argued, gesturing sharply toward the front, and although the microphones were off, lip readers swore they saw her mouth the chilling words, "You can't silence me forever." Then, just as dramatically as she had arrived, she was gone, escorted out, her heels clicking against the marble like gunfire, leaving behind a wake of shock, whispers, and disbelief. What followed was even more consequential than Candace's dramatic exit. The widow, visibly shaken, paused the service, leaving the congregation suspended between grief and growing unease. Phones vibrated, whispers spread, and the air seemed to hum with paranoia. What had Candace meant? What did she know? And then, in an almost surreal twist, Dave Chappelle entered the narrative. While the world debated the funeral chaos, he dropped a revelation mid-comedy set that sent the internet into a frenzy. Chappelle framed it in his signature style, half joke, half blunt truth, but the implications were staggering. Candace hadn't been removed for disrespect. She had been silenced for speaking the one thing no one was supposed to voice, that Charlie Kirk's death wasn't as it appeared, and that his widow knew far more than anyone realized. Fans were stunned. Memes exploded. Think pieces flooded every corner of social media. Headlines blared. Candace Owens removed for revealing too much. Chappelle confirms the unthinkable. Others warned, if Chappelle is right, this isn't politics anymore, it's survival. The pieces finally fell into place. Candace and Charlie had been rivals masquerading as allies. Her relationship with his widow had long been fraught, and the funeral had become a battleground. Yet the most urgent question lingered. What secret was so explosive it warranted physically removing her from a service meant to honor her former ally? The stage had been set, and the public demanded answers. If Candace was silenced there, what else was being buried? The first eyewitness accounts only fanned the flames. Anonymous attendees reached out to journalists, bloggers, and social media users, describing jaw-dropping details. Candace didn't merely whisper. She allegedly rose mid-service, eyes blazing, her voice just loud enough for the front rows to hear. "You all are sitting here pretending, but you know, he was set up. You know, his death wasn't natural." Gasps rippled through the crowd. The widow reportedly froze, and staff rushed in to intervene. But Candace pressed on, pointing directly at the front row where the widow sat and hissing. "Ask her. She knows." The whispers escalated into murmurs of shock. Candace wasn't directing blame at outsiders. She was calling attention to the very person sitting at the heart of the funeral, the widow herself. The tension, the secrecy, the public spectacle, it was a perfect storm. And in that storm, the world realized the funeral had become far more than a memorial. It had become a stage for revelations that threatened to rewrite everything they thought they knew about Charlie Kirk's death. Inside the church, all eyes were on Candace Owens as she pointed directly at the widow, her finger a silent accusation that carried the weight of years of hidden tension. In the midst of family, dignitaries, and cameras, security rushed in to contain the chaos. Eyewitnesses described her arguing fiercely, her voice ricocheting off the walls, raw and unrelenting. A viral tweet later claimed to capture her final words before being escorted out. "The truth will come out whether you like it or not." Hours later, a grainy hidden phone clip emerged, showing Candace being guided toward the back doors, yet over the choir singing, her words cut clearly through. "Stop protecting her. Charlie deserved better." The internet ignited. Who was she referring to? Most assumed the widow, but conspiracy forums speculated she might have been pointing to a donor, a politician, or some other high-profile figure in the front row. The ambiguity fueled a wildfire of theories, and then Dave Chappelle added fuel to the blaze. In his now infamous set, Chappelle didn't merely confirm that Candace had been removed for speaking out. He claimed she had threatened to reveal concrete evidence. According to him, she wasn't ranting. She had something tangible, a file, a document, something she had brought in her purse. That was the reason for the swift intervention. They were terrified she would expose it right then and there. The crowd gasped, and online fans went into a frenzy. Could Candace have carried proof that Charlie's death wasn't natural? Was this a dramatic, calculated reveal at his funeral? The speculation reached fever pitch. Some theorized she had recordings of private conversations with Charlie, containing confessions or admissions of betrayal. Others claimed she held financial records linking the widow to shadowy allies or powerful enemies. A few even suggested messages between Charlie and Candace herself, proof he feared being undermined. Then Jaguar Wright added another layer of intrigue. Posting a cryptic Instagram video, she smirked into the camera. Candace tried, they stopped her. But don't worry, still got mine. The message was clear. Candace and Jaguar were being framed as reluctant allies, poised to expose secrets about Charlie's widow. And at that moment, the widow, long a master of control and silence, finally made her move, signaling that the power struggle was far from over. According to multiple reports, Candace Owens' lawyers reached out to media outlets, warning of defamation lawsuits if any footage of her removal from the funeral aired. Instead of quieting speculation, it ignited it. If she had merely lost her composure, why shield the world from it? The widow's silence, once a mark of composure, began to feel like something far darker, fear masked as dignity. Her sporadic Instagram posts, cryptic Bible verses against Black backgrounds, only deepened the intrigue. One post, "The devil speaks loudest when he's desperate," set fans debating. Was she targeting Candace, Jaguar Wright, or both? Then, days later, an anonymous source leaked a message allegedly from Candace's inner circle. In it, she reportedly said, "They'll regret throwing me out. I'll show everything. If they thought the funeral was bad, wait until I drop the tapes." The word tapes sent shockwaves across the internet. Did Candace actually have recordings? If so, why hadn't they surfaced yet? Suddenly, the scandal transcended a funeral outburst. It hinted at evidence capable of rewriting everything we thought we knew about Charlie Kirk's death, his widow, and the tangled power struggles within his empire. Rumors swirled that Candace had brought evidence in her purse, recordings suggesting Charlie's death wasn't natural. 3 days after the funeral, an anonymous Dropbox link circulated across Twitter and Reddit with a caption, "Candace wasn't lying." Here's the first tape. The link disappeared within hours, but not before thousands downloaded it. The audio was muffled yet chilling, a phone call between Charlie Kirk and an unidentified confidant. Charlie's weary, tense voice whispered, "I don't trust them anymore. She's hiding things from me. If something happens, remember what I told you. It won't be an accident." The internet erupted. Was this the smoking gun? Had Charlie himself feared betrayal before his death? And who was she? The widow or someone else entirely? Hashtags exploded. Hashtag Charlie knew. Hashtag not an accident. Hashtag funeral tapes. Theories multiplied. Some claimed the widow had orchestrated events. Others insisted the audio was doctored to ignite conspiracy. But doubt had taken root. Then Dave Chappelle dropped another bomb during a late-night set in Chicago, doubling down on his previous claims. Candace didn't just show up to mourn. Far from it. The stage was set. Funeral drama had spiraled into a labyrinth of secrets, betrayals, and evidence that threatened to consume everyone involved. The question wasn't just what happened at the funeral anymore, it was how deep does the deception run, and who would survive it. She came prepared, a purse loaded with dynamite, and they stopped her before she could ignite it. But make no mistake, the fuse had already been lit. Humiliated, silenced, yet far from defeated, Candace's presence alone had set the stage. Then Jaguar Wright jumped back into the fray. In a live stream, eyes blazing with that signature defiance, she announced, dragging Candace out was just the beginning. "I've got my own tapes. And trust me, they don't just incriminate the widow, they incriminate everyone at the table." The phrase "everyone at the table" sent chills across social media. Speculation exploded. What table was she talking about? Secret meetings? A network of powerful figures entwined in the scandal? Within hours, memes, fan edits, and wild theories reached fever pitch. TikTok creators staged dramatic reenactments of the funeral, complete with imagined tape reveals. YouTube channels posted hour-long analyses of the leaked audio, running every nuance through voice authentication software. Podcasts debated fiercely. Were Candace and Jaguar allies, rivals, or pawns in a far larger game? Then another leak surfaced, an alleged email chain between Candace and a mysterious donor. In it, Candace reportedly wrote, "If they silence me at the funeral, I'll go public. The widow won't survive the truth." The reply, "Release carefully. The fallout will be nuclear." The word nuclear went viral instantly, sparking feverish debate. Fans joked, theorized, and panicked in equal measure. Meanwhile, the widow remained silent. But her quiet no longer signaled grace, it read as guilt. Her Instagram posts grew darker. One candle flickering in the shadows, paired with a verse on betrayal and the caption, "The truth will always cut through the noise." Social media erupted. "Then why are you hiding? If you're innocent, show your receipts." And then came the revelation that flipped the narrative entirely. An anonymous Twitter account, @ShadowWitness, claimed that the funeral wasn't about mourning. It was about control. Every glance, every gesture, every silenced voice was part of a larger game. The world was no longer watching a simple eulogy. It was witnessing a power struggle with stakes so high, every player had everything to lose. Candace Owens hadn't been ejected for deceit. She'd been stopped because she was on the verge of revealing who truly pulls the strings behind the movement. Attached to the post was a blurry photo showing a group departing the funeral together: Charlie's widow, two influential donors, and a celebrity straddling the worlds of politics and entertainment. The caption read simply, "This is the table Jaguar was talking about." The image ignited a wildfire online. Redditors began mapping connections between everyone pictured, while YouTubers uploaded detailed breakdowns under titles like "The Widow's Network Exposed." Suddenly, the scandal had expanded far beyond Candace versus the widow. It was about an entire hidden machinery of power, wealth, and influence that Candace had nearly unveiled mid-funeral. Just when it seemed the situation couldn't escalate further, a whistleblower claiming to be a former staffer of Charlie's movement released a chilling statement. "Candace isn't bluffing. The tapes are real. And they don't just reveal betrayal. They show why Charlie never stood a chance." The implications were staggering. Was foul play involved? Had Charlie's downfall been orchestrated? What began as chaotic funeral drama had now evolved into a global scandal involving leaked recordings, anonymous insiders, and a shadow network of power players. Jaguar Wright fanned the flames further with a final cryptic tease. "You think this is over? Wait until you see who's protecting her. The names I have will shake this entire industry." The cliffhanger was set. The next revelation promised not just to expose Charlie's widow, but to drag the entire network into the spotlight. As the leaks spread online, public reaction was volcanic. The funeral, once a solemn space of mourning, had become the epicenter of an international spectacle. Candace Owens, the widow, Jaguar Wright, and even Dave Chappelle now dominated the narrative. Twitter transformed into a battlefield, with hashtags like #CharlieKnew, #FuneralTapes, and #WidowNetwork trending for days. Millions of posts flooded feeds every hour as ordinary users, influencers, and celebrities picked sides. On one side, supporters rallied behind Candace, convinced she had been silenced for daring to speak the truth. On the other, speculation ran wild about the shadowy figures she nearly exposed. The scandal had become more than headlines. It was a full-blown cultural flashpoint. The online fallout was immediate and unrelenting. Threads overflowed with memes of Candace Owens being escorted out of the funeral, each caption casting her as fearless. "They fear her. That's why they kicked her out." Others framed her as a martyr, the lone voice daring to articulate what everyone else whispered in private. Yet for every supporter, a critic was ready. Candace was mocked as opportunistic, accused of turning someone else's funeral into a personal stage. One viral tweet: "Candace turned someone else's funeral into her stage. That's not bravery, it's narcissism." Caught in the crossfire was Dave Chappelle. His remarks, initially dismissed as part of his comedy, were now dissected as if testimony. Fans debated endlessly. Was he joking or subtly smuggling the truth to the public? Memes proliferated, featuring Chappelle's face captioned, "When the comedian tells more truth than the politicians." On TikTok, creators staged elaborate reenactments of the funeral chaos, candlelit faux eulogies, actors portraying Candace being dragged out by security, with the leaked audio of Charlie's alleged warning, "If something happens, it won't be an accident," clipped over dark, conspiratorial montages. Instagram amplified the frenzy, with body language experts analyzing every subtle movement of the widow. One viral clip noted her unusually low blink rate during Charlie's eulogy, sparking comments like, "She wasn't grieving, she was calculating." The debate spilled into entertainment circles. Celebrities weighed in. A controversial rapper declared live, "Candace got silenced because she knows too much. That funeral was fake as hell." Conservative radio pushed back. Jaguar Wright and Dave Chappelle are clout chasing. A widow is being terrorized in her grief. Friendships fractured online. Podcasts devoted hours to analysis. Late-night shows mined the scandal for monologues. And through it all, Jaguar Wright stoked the fire with cryptic live streams and tweets, teasing bigger names, sealed files, and deeper secrets. Despite the division, one consensus emerged. Something far larger was hidden beneath the surface, and the full truth hadn't yet surfaced. Jaguar herself hinted at it in her latest stream. "You thought Candace blew the whistle? Nah, she just cracked the door. I'm the one kicking it down." Tension mounted, the storm escalating with each revelation. Candace dragged from a funeral, Chappelle hinting at explosive truths, Jaguar dangling her arsenal of tapes. Then, just when the public thought they had begun to piece together the puzzle, a new revelation shattered the narrative. An anonymous email blast hit journalists, influencers, and random Twitter accounts alike, sending shockwaves and signaling that the climax of this unfolding scandal was only beginning. The subject line alone sent chills down inboxes. The widow's deal. Attached was a single document, purportedly minutes from a secret meeting held just days before Charlie Kirk's funeral. The notes detailed a closed-door gathering between the widow and 3 high-profile figures bridging politics and entertainment. According to the minutes, the widow didn't appear broken or grieving. She appeared calculating, methodical. One line, bolded and underlined, froze the internet. Control the narrative. Candace must be contained. If she speaks, everything collapses. Screenshots of the emails circulated instantly, dissected sentence by sentence across Reddit and Twitter. Could this be the real reason Candace Owens had been removed from the funeral? Not disrespect, not theatrics. She was a threat to the story itself. Then Candace shattered the silence. In a fiery Instagram live, her face lit by the glow of her phone, she declared, "They dragged me out because I was about to show you the truth. I had the tapes with me that day. I was going to play them right there in the church. They stopped me, but they won't stop me forever." The chat erupted. Thousands demanded, "Drop them now." Others shouted, "You're bluffing." Candace leaned closer, whispering, "Charlie told me he was afraid. He told me who he didn't trust. And I've got it all recorded." Then the stream ended. The cliffhanger sent the internet into chaos. If she truly possessed Charlie's final confessions, this could be the most explosive political revelation of the decade. The timing of her live stream, just as the widow's deal email leaked, felt less like coincidence and more like calculated escalation. Hours later, Jaguar Wright entered the fray. Her live stream crackled with fury. "Candace thinks she's the only one holding receipts? No. I've got tapes too. And mine don't just prove the widow's betrayal, they expose the entire industry." Social media erupted. 2 women, once rivals, were now circling the same target, each claiming evidence capable of destroying Charlie's widow and everyone surrounding her. The widow's silence, once interpreted as composure, now read as pure panic. Then came a final, devastating leak. A grainy video, allegedly filmed outside the funeral hall, showed a tense confrontation between Candace and a man believed to be one of Charlie's closest advisors. The audio was distorted, but one phrase cut through. "If you play that tape, you'll put all of us in danger." The world paused. Danger from what? From whom? Suddenly, the scandal transcended personal betrayal. It pointed to a shadowy machine so vast and powerful that even naming it could be perilous. The widow resurfaced in a midnight Instagram story. Just 2 words, stark white against black, not over. Candace claims to hold the tapes. Jaguar swears she has her own. The widow watches silently. Dave Chappelle continues to drop breadcrumbs, teasing the edges of a story the public can barely comprehend. After the funeral chaos, Candace's explosive outburst, Chappelle's cryptic confirmations, Jaguar's relentless hints, and the leaks of audio, emails, and video, one truth is undeniable. This saga is far from finished. Not even close. The internet has erupted. Fans are clamoring for Candace to release the tapes. Jaguar Wright teases even more explosive revelations. The widow's cryptic posts seem less like denials and more like veiled warnings. Every day brings fresh leaks, rumors, and allegations, escalating a scandal that refuses to stay buried. And here's where the public steps in. This isn't a story that insiders, journalists, or pundits will decide. It's the court of public opinion, and you're the jury. Do you trust Candace Owens? Was she silenced at Charlie Kirk's funeral because she carried proof capable of toppling the widow? Or was she exploiting a solemn moment for personal gain? Do you believe Jaguar Wright truly possesses industry-shattering evidence, or is she fueling the flames for attention? And what about the widow? What secrets lie behind her sealed files, whispered meetings, and enigmatic posts? Share your thoughts, your theories, your arguments. Comment, debate, expose. Every post, every discussion makes it harder for anyone, even the most powerful, to suppress the truth. Smash that like button if you want to see Candace finally release the tapes. Share this story widely so the world understands just how deep this scandal runs. Subscribe because this isn't over. The next chapter is already in motion. Dave Chappelle continues to drop breadcrumbs. Jaguar is teasing names that could shake the entire industry. Candace stands on the brink of revealing everything. And the widow? She may think her silence shields her, but silence never lasts. The truth is coming, and when it hits, it will eclipse Charlie, Candace, and Jaguar. It will redefine the story, disrupt the power dynamics, and reshape everything we thought we knew. Stay alert. The next revelation could unravel it all.